Welcome to In Progress, a podcast to help you grow and learn how to become a better version of yourself. Now, here's your host, Michael Sirigliano.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of In Progress. I'm your host, Michael Sirigliano. Now, appreciate you guys and the patience for the 1 month hiatus that I took. Just situating everything in a new move and setting up a new podcast studio as well. Still under construction, so we're working on that. But now that I'm back up and running, I actually was kind of motivated to make this podcast about progress, ironically enough. I was in my car driving home from work today, and I was listening to a podcast from Ed Milet. And in that podcast, Ed Milet was talking about why children are typically happier. Children typically don't suffer from the same depression that adults do. And he was talking about growth, constant learning. And I thought that it was an interesting topic because not a lot of people really talk about or get down to the reason why adulthood depression is such a rampant thing in our society now. People don't really talk about why it is that people experience anxiety and all of these different emotions, all negative emotions. And no one really talks about why that is. And to be completely honest with you, prior to listening to this podcast, I didn't really have any idea. But once I listened to it, I realized, holy shit, a lot of the things that he's talking about pertain to me as well. So he was referring to how, as an adult, right, on your way to work, you know what exit to take, you know what route to take. You don't really pay attention to the drive. You're not present in the moment. And on your way home, it's the same thing. You just drive, you know what exit to take. You're not present to the moment. And you don't have anything really to look forward to once you become an adult if you don't make yourself have something to look forward to. So in his example, he was referring to himself and talking about how he gives himself things to look forward to. Obviously, he has multiple multi-million-dollar businesses, but he said even aside from that, he's taken an interest in horses and riding horses and learning about horses, and that's the thing that has him, quote-unquote, growing. And he talks about how the body is constantly repairing and growing itself, right? So the cell tissue that you have on your skin today is not going to be the same cell tissue that you have on your skin a year from now. Same thing with your organs, your bone tissue, all of that. It's always replenishing. It's always growing. And as human beings, we need to have that same exact mentality when it comes to our brains, our souls, our spirits. We have to always be growing. And in the podcast, he breaks it down to something a little easier to understand. He says that children, so from being a child to 25 years old, you're typically not experiencing the hardcore depression. Like, obviously there are teenagers who are depressed, but in general, when you're looking at, like a 6 or 7 year old, they're not depressed. They're just looking forward to the next thing. They're always learning. They're always growing. So in his example, he's talking about, when you're a kid, you see other kids riding a bike and you're like, oh, I want to learn how to ride a bike. And then you finally learn to ride a bike and you're riding around with your friends. And then you see another friend, driving his car and you're like, oh, I can't wait to drive a car. And then you learn to drive a car. And then you have your car. And then you're in high school and, oh, I can't wait to get to college. Then you get into college. Then, oh, I can't wait to be 21 and be able to legally drink. Then you can legally drink. And then while you're in college, oh, I can't wait to leave college and finally get into my career. And then you leave college and, well, you may or may not get into your career, depending on what your major is, but beside the point. So he talks about that. And when he talks about that, I thought to myself, that's extremely true, right? So when you're growing up, you're always looking forward to the next thing. You're always learning something new. But once you hit that 25, 26, 27-year-old mark, most people stop growing. They stop learning. They're in their job, in their career, and the only growth that they encounter is, maybe they get a promotion, maybe they get a raise, but that's it. And that's kind of, to be completely honest with you, out of their control more so than not, right? Like, yeah, you have to grow and learn how the business works in order for you to be promoted, but you're going day to day being in that business. You learn it on the day to day, but you're not going in there learning so that you can be promoted. You're going in there to work. And then while you're learning and showing leadership traits, then you get promoted. And so you kind of stop chasing growth once you get to that 25-year mark. And that's why as adults, we kind of get into this rut. We kind of get into this mentality of there's nothing more. And there's a saying that I honestly think it's a great saying for this exact scenario. People live, they're born and then they live to 25. And then 25 to 80, 90 years old is just waiting to be buried, because most people, once they hit 25, they're not chasing anything more, right? They're not trying to learn anything. They're not trying to better themselves, whether they're going to the gym, whether they're reading books, trying to learn more things, whether they're starting a podcast, whether they're doing an online business. People stop pursuing things. And I think, honestly, the real reason behind that is because people are, well, it could be just purely unmotivated individuals, which if that's the case, that's an entirely different issue altogether. If you lack the ability to just do what you say you want to do, that's a will thing. That's you just don't have enough willpower to actually do it. But I feel as though, and myself included for a while, you fear the opinions of others, and that's why you don't pursue your goals or your dreams or your aspirations, because when you start something, you're shit at it, right? You absolutely suck at it. 99% of the time, you absolutely suck at whatever you start. So people don't want to deal with the judgment. People don't want to deal with the constant beratement of judgment and negative comments and getting made fun of. People don't like that. So people kind of stay away from those things, right? Like, I know a buddy of mine who likes to go work out. He likes to go to the gym, but he'll only go to the gym if he goes with me, if he goes with other friends of ours who go and work out, because he's afraid of being judged for not doing the workouts right when he's in the gym. So he hinders his own growth because he's afraid of judgment, right? And that's a terrible mindset to have, because if I'm in the gym and I see somebody doing a workout and they're not doing it right, you know that's someone who's starting something new, who's beginning a venture in this, and you look at them, you're like, oh shit, good for you. But you don't judge them. You might help them if they ask for it, but you're not going to judge them. But for some reason, everybody thinks that they're the center of attention. Everybody thinks that all these other people are focused on them, when in reality, you are the only person focusing on yourself. The minimal judgment that you'll receive from others outside of yourself it almost doesn't exist, right? And I'm sure if you go to the gym, you'll get judged, but no one's going to come up to you and say anything. No one's going to give you a weird look. They're just going to look at you and go back to whatever they're doing and maybe pass a second of judgment. So with that being said, you have to understand that in order to continue living a fulfilling life, in order to continue progressing in life, you need to be pursuing something at all times. You can't just be sitting there doing nothing and expect to grow, expect to get some type of fulfillment out of life. So some people take the marriage route, some people take the having children route, some people take the pursuing a career route. But regardless of what it is, you have to be pushing yourself towards something. You always have to be learning something, doing something, moving towards something. Otherwise, you're not going to be doing anything. And then you end up in this rut where you're depressed. Your day-to-day is monotonous. You don't want to wake up because you don't want to get your day started, because you don't want to deal with this shit. And a quote that I heard online from, I believe his name is Chris Williamson. And this is running all over social media. So I'm sure once I read this, you've absolutely heard it. The quote goes, "If they don't have what you want, don't listen to what they say. There's no greater waste of time than justifying your actions to people who have a life that you don't want, right? So that's exactly my point, is when you're worrying about other people's judgment of you, are these people where you want to be? Are these people living the life that you want to live? Are you taking the judgment of people who don't do what you want to do to heart? And most people do, but you shouldn't. Because if, say, there's, a friend of yours or somebody you know is working at a dead-end job, doing fucking nothing with their life, and then you are starting an online business, selling clothes or whatever, and they're talking shit, I mean, yeah, that might hurt. That might hit the ego, right? But at the end of the day, when you really consider the source, who the fuck is that person? Like, they're doing nothing with their life, yet they're willing to pass judgment on you. And the reason is misery loves company. People that don't do anything will continue to tell you to not do things because it makes them more comfortable with themselves and the decisions that they're making in their life. So when people are passing judgment on you, you have to understand, well, are they where I want to be? Are they doing what I want to be doing? Are they even doing what they want to be doing? And majority of the time, the answer is no. So when you're sitting here and you're wondering, oh, well, if I start this person might judge me, my parents might judge me, my family might judge me. Are they where you want to be? Whether they're successful or not, are they where you want to be? Because success comes in all different shapes and sizes. And for you to sit there and worry about the judgment of somebody else because you don't know if you're going to succeed, that's hindering your own growth, and that's going to get you absolutely nowhere. Another quote that I saw online from Andy Elliott, this is a completely different mentality than Chris Williamson, but same kind of idea, is you'll be misunderstood by everybody. But in a couple years, when you're buying your mom a new car or paying off her house, she'll fucking know what happened. And so that right there, because Andy Elliott is more financially driven in his coaching, it also is true though, right? You have to start on the journey in order to get to where you want to be. Tomorrow is going to come regardless. Today is going to happen regardless. The hours are going to go. The time is going to pass no matter what. So you can sit here and you can, do nothing. You can scroll social media, wasting your time. You can, be watching TV shows, learning fuck all the entire time. Or you can be putting the time that you have in the day to work for you. You can start these endeavors. You can start learning new things. You have the same amount of time as these multimillionaires, these billionaires. You have the exact same amount of time in a day as they do. It's just how you use it. So if you're at work doing nothing, well, consume some good content. Learn something. When you come home from work or when you come home from the gym, turn something on that's educational, that's going to teach you how to get closer to where you want to be. Find out ways to either continue pursuing your endeavor or add on more endeavors to what you're doing, because you don't have to be one-dimensional. You can be pursuing 3 things at one time to find out which one you want. But you have to be pursuing things to understand what it is you want. Gary Vee has said it best. In order to figure out what it is that you want, you have to taste multiple things before you know what it is that you actually want. Because without doing that, you're wasting time. Without trying different things, you're absolutely wasting your time. And you don't have time to waste. Tomorrow is coming no matter what. And that's another day you are closer to either your goal or closer to a life of misery. So why not make the day count for you? Why not make it so that you are making today the most productive day you can make it, and do that every single day? Because you and me have the same exact amount of time in a day. So I know that I'm going to be working towards my goals. All of my endeavors I'm working towards all day, every day, while also working a job and going to the gym. I'm doing it all because I understand that the finite time that we have here on earth is finite. You can't continue it on. So while you're here, you have to make the most of it. So when you're thinking about starting something, instead of sitting there and trying to information overload. So a phenomenal example of this was myself recently. I've been contemplating getting into Shopify, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And the reason why I never started this Shopify store is because every YouTube video online tells you 40 different steps with a coaching being sold in the middle and at the end of it. And, oh, you can click my link and get a discount for this. And it's information overload because they're all trying to sell you on a product. And yeah, I get it. You have to make your money somehow while you're online, becoming a presence online. I get that completely. But all of these YouTubers are trying to information dump to sound like they're being the most helpful, which I'm sure they are. But if you get stuck in that cycle of, oh, well, if I want to start a Shopify store, what's the first step? And then everyone has a different first step. Oh, well, how do I start a Shopify store? Everyone has a different start to a Shopify store. Some people do research. Some people start it up and then do research. So you'll always be getting information overload if you continue just trying to find the one specific way. The best way to pursue a dream is to just do it. Just do it and fumble and get up and do it and fumble and get up and do it. Like, you have to fail in order to understand what works. You have to fail in order to succeed. Without failing, you'll never know what success looks like. It's the same with anything in life. The reason why people date multiple people is because they try one person and they see a bunch of traits they like, a bunch of traits they don't like. The relationship fails. Okay, I want to stay away from X, Y, and Z traits in the next one. You're never going to be able to find out what you want. You'll never be able to understand what it is you want if you just try and find the one perfect way to start it. Because there is no perfect way. Starting a podcast, for me, it's completely different than every other podcaster, I'm sure. There's 1,000,002 ways that you can do anything. So there's never one right way. There's no one size fits all. If you're starting something on your own from the ground up, you're going to have to find out what works for you. Yeah, there's hints and there's clues and there's things that you can look up online that might aid you in that process. But at the end of the day, you have to try it and fail in order to know what works and what doesn't for you specifically. So if you want to go to the gym, if you're afraid of going to the gym because you don't know what form is right, what workouts are right, should I do this workout this day or this day? How many workouts do I do in a day? How many rest days do I need? Just start. Just start going to the gym and do whatever workouts you know. And then look up workouts that you can contribute, that you can add to the workouts that you're already doing, and continue doing that. And then you'll get to a point where you're like, oh shit, I'm exhausted. All my muscles are sore. There's your rest day. And then as you go on and as you consume more content, you understand where the rest day fits in, how much rest you need between sets, how much rest you need within a set, how pauses, going heavy, going light. You learn all that stuff, but you'll never get to the point where you know what questions to ask until you reach those roadblocks, right? If you never start working out and never start exercising, you'll never know, like, if you want to go on the treadmill. If you don't start walking, then you'll never know how running is, what workouts to do for jogging, running, HIIT training. Like, there's so many variations to everything because the world's been around for fucking ever. So there's 1,000,002 ways to do anything. And if you don't start, you'll never get to where you want to be. You're just going to continue information overloading the entire time. And that's kind of what I'm saying here is if you don't know what you want to do, then you need to figure out what more do you want. You need to figure that out and pursue that thing and figure out, by tasting other things, by doing other things. You're not going to get there by sitting around and watching videos. You have to start it. You have to go all in on something. And then if it fails, it fails. Did you waste a few $100s? Did you waste some time that you weren't going to be doing anything with anyway? How are you you're not wasting anything. Money is replaceable. You can always make more money. Time, you will always have more time. But if you don't start, then your money's not getting put to use for you. Your time isn't getting put to use for you. So figure out what it is that you want more. Because you obviously want more. In order to even be watching this video, you must want more. Your feed, your social media feed literally knows that you want more. And that's why this video even came up. So you need to figure out what it is that you want. And then you need to pursue that thing immediately. Don't information overload. Find a video, watch it, cool, check, done, go. So if it's the gym, here's the workout I'm doing, go and just do that workout every time. And then you'll realize how to add more workouts. If it's a Shopify store, watch a video, cool, done. That's how we started, go. Podcast, same thing, go. Just do the thing that you want to do and worry about the consequences after the fact. Because you're never going to regret starting something, but you will always regret not starting something. When you look back when you're 80 years old and you're on your deathbed or 90 or whatever, you're never going to look back and say, oh man, I wish I never started that Shopify store. I wish I never started going to the gym. You're always going to think, what if I did? What if I did start this thing? What if I did pursue this dream? How differently would my life have been if I did? And that should be the biggest motivator for you, is that deathbed confession, the deathbed realization. That's honestly what motivates me. That's what motivated me to do everything I do. You watch one deathbed realization or deathbed confession or whatever the fuck those videos are called, where these people are just sitting in bed, knocking on death's doorstep, and they go, oh, when I was younger, I wish I did X, Y, and Z. Or they're looking back and they're like, oh, I remember when I was 22 when I did this and this. They have different outlooks because they don't regret the things they did. They only regret the chances that they didn't take. And while you're young and able to take these chances, do it. You'll always be able to pick yourself back up if you fail. You always will be able to, regardless of how much it costs. If it costs you $500 to start something, you'll make that back. If it costs you $1,000, you will make that back. But what if it costs you $500 to start something, and then you end up making triple, quadruple that the next year because of that initial $500? You'll never know unless you try. And I want to leave you guys with this very last quote, one from the absolutely motivational Matthew McConaughey. He was talking to the camera like he does for his social media. And this quote that he said really hit home for me, because a lot of people don't know what it is that they want to do, but they know they want to do something else. They know they want more. And this quote is perfect for that. He says, have you ever had a gut feeling that you were meant for more, but you weren't really sure what the next best steps were to achieve it? Me too. So what's your more? Not material things, but maybe more love, more trust, more choices, more balance, more ideas. What's your more? So what is your more? I want you to sit by yourself and think to yourself, what is it that you absolutely love doing? What is it that you absolutely adore doing? When you do this thing, you're happy. For me, it's talking, weirdly enough. Coming from me being introverted as a child, learning how to socialize, I enjoy talking. I enjoy talking and speaking my mind. So naturally, for me, podcast. But since then, I've noticed other things that I enjoy doing. Working out, boxing, online businesses. I've taken a liking to those things. But the podcast is what started it all. And it's because I just loved learning information and sharing it. So for me, this is that platform. I have a buddy of mine who absolutely always loved working out and just lifting heavy. That was his thing. Always wanted to lift heavy, be big, lift heavy. He does strongman and trains people in strongman. He's been on the podcast multiple times. Like, you just find out what it is you like doing. There's an avenue to make money or an avenue to pursue a career in everything. I mean, there are people that literally get online, dressed like kittens, and speak to a camera in a weird voice and meow and purr to the camera. And they make more money than you and me. So there's a market for everything. There's an avenue for everything. So don't worry about the judgment, because like I said earlier, the people passing judgment probably don't have the life you want. So in reality, who gives a fuck what they say? Just follow your dreams. Find out what it is that you bring to the table. What are you put on this earth for? And then from there, just pursue it. It's really that simple. No matter what it is that simple. It's literally the hardest part is starting. After you start, it becomes habitual and you just do it. And then eventually, like myself, the podcast was a big joke when I started. Now, people just ask me about the podcast. So how'd you do this? How'd this go? It becomes just normal. People only pass judgment for so long, then they go on to the next thing. So why worry about other people? Maybe you get a month of ridicule, then it's over. So who gives a shit? Chase what you want. Live the life that you want to live. Fuck what they think. And then in a few months, they won't care either. So at the end of the day, you're missing out for no reason at all. I'd like to thank you guys for watching today. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions for me or want me to cover any topic at all, feel free to DM me or put it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.